Alright, what's up, guys? I'm so behind on these videos. But anyways, Hot Tea, she has uploaded a video titled Trisha Paytas leaves frenemies for like the millionth time. Oh, has she left previous times before? I don't pay attention to that podcast, so I'm like, I wouldn't know. But anyways, it honestly it wouldn't surprise me if she were to come back. I'm like, it's you hear it a lot where it's like people would be like, oh, I'm quitting, I'm done, I'm gonna move on, do my own thing, and then you see it's like, okay, they do like a reunion episode, and they're like, okay, well, I feel like there were some more things I need to talk on. Next thing you know, they back full time. So anyways, let's go ahead and check out this video, guys. First things first, make sure you go subscribe to Hot Tea for more videos like this. Make sure you subscribe to her second channel, Ray Rahimi, and her business channel, Build Your Pocket. But in that being said, why would I like it? No, get off my screen. But anyways, let's get into this video. Got my water on standby. Full screen. There we go.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about everything that went down in the last Frenemies podcast, which could potentially be the last Frenemies podcast ever. Shocker, we're not covering Gabby drama for once, although the episode is titled...
I know, somebody was all like, got on me about reacting to Hot Tea's channel, and here's the thing. Ray, at the end of the day, is my friend, and regardless of whatever content they're doing, I will always support it. Why? Because that's what friends do. They support each other. Regardless of what they're doing, bruh. Like, my thing is like, and here's the thing. Y'all making it seem like that this is like the worst of the worst that she could be doing. I got friends out there that could, like, I ain't gonna say exactly what, but let's just say that there's some things that, that they then did, and I'm like, you guys, I think y'all should have I mean, if you don't like the videos, okay, then don't like them. But I'm like, she could be doing far more worse. And I'm like, this ain't nowhere near the, like, line of, I have to say, like, if we're gonna, like, describe this, like, I guess, like, give it an ocean example. Let's say the bottom of the ocean is, like, the worst of the worst stuff, right? She's a plane high in the air right now over the ocean. Like, what's the highest plane that can, like, something that's like right, like, below the atmosphere, pretty much saying that she's doing far from, like, the worst of the worst on anything. But anyways,
talking about Gabby Hanna. But before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to this channel, turn on your post notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. Alright, let's dive in. So what's going on with frenemies? Well, they might have ended it for real this time. Hopefully not. I feel like this podcast has brought so much joy to all of us. But we're gonna go over what happened during the episode, as well as what Trisha had to say in her video about it that she posted afterwards. The episode started as usual. They had a few disagreements about the costumes in the beginning, and then they talked about Trisha's skincare collaboration, which, by the way, can we talk about that as well? That commercial and promo was so weird. But anyway, they also spoke about Gabby Hanna and then the Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather fight. Like I said, they had a few small disagreements during the episode. Not sure if that perhaps built up the tension for later on. So their big argument begins.
Seemed like a dope, like, show to be on. They got pizza that you could dress up, bro. I gotta be a freaking Spider-Man costume, and it's like dress up as that. And yeah, just overall, like, oh, I hands down would like it. Then get pizza, facts. I'd definitely be on that show.
And Trisha give advice to fans. Trisha says they don't like this idea and thinks that giving fan advice is stupid and not interesting. Trisha adds that this is something people do when they run out of ideas, for example, like doing Q&As because there's nothing to talk about.
You're so not good about this. Okay, let's go to your stupid. Sure I don't like this segment, just for the record.
I'm just saying, like, content is content regardless of what it is, and it's like, my thing is like, okay, if you do run out of ideas and you decide, like, okay, Q&As and giving out advice, or, whatever other types of videos or podcast episodes that you want to do, you're still giving out content to your fans. So I don't see how that can be a problem. Like, because I feel like that's, like, one of the things that fans, like, seek after when they are following somebody. It's like, okay, like, how did you do it? How did you get interested in this stuff? Like, they're gonna wonder that. So
fan advice is a stupid segment.
Why?
But we can do it. It's so dumb. What's the point?
To give advice to our fans.
But that's not that's like when people run out of ideas and they start doing Q&As. Like Tyler Oakley ran out of ideas, so he's like, we're gonna do Q&As now because we have nothing else to talk about. Okay, go ahead.
Then Ethan disagrees. Trisha says it makes the podcast lazy, but Trisha has done many Q&As on their own channel before, as well as on their podcast.
Have you ran out of ideas?
Also, Q&As are actually a pretty good way for your fans to get to know you more and to
engage with
them. And I guess to each their own, though. I don't know. Just seems a little bit silly since Trisha has done many, many Q&As or answering fans' assumptions videos and so on.
It's such a dumb segment.
It's so not. It's
like we have nothing to fill the time.
Okay, well, what, you want to talk more about what, Brokeback Mountain, a movie from like 10 years ago?
It's like a lazy podcast. Like, we're going to play games on that, like,
A lazy podcast. You don't do anything for it. You just show up. We do all the work.
Oh my God, yeah, right.
Dang.
After that, Ethan is like, a lazy podcast? You don't do anything for it. You just show up. We do all the work. Trisha responds with, oh my God, yeah, right. Then Ethan asks, how is he wrong? Trisha goes on to say how they always contribute with ideas and concepts, and that Ethan always talked about Jake Paul or Keemstar on his podcasts, and people were tired of hearing about it. Trisha mentioned that Ethan just recycles H3 content on frenemies. Then both of them go on to discuss Trisha's contributions and ideas for the show. Trisha says that they don't always like or agree with what Ethan comes up with, but they go along with it anyway. Trisha then continues to talk about Ethan recycling content, for example, the pregnancy announcements that was first showed on the After Dark episode, and then they talked about it on Frenemies. Trisha's thing was that they originally titled the episode the same way they titled the pregnancy reveal one, and said that it should have been something different and that people would think that she was pregnant and not Hila, which kind of pissed a lot of people since a big portion of the Frenemies fans also follow H3's other podcasts, and they followed Hila and Ethan's fertility journey for a while now. So a lot of the comments on this episode was like, why is Trisha making the podcast all about her? Can't Ethan also talk about what's going on with his life as well? Trisha said, of course they can talk about Hila being pregnant, but they had an issue with the title apparently.
The title was like pregnancy announcement, which is, I'm happy to talk about the pregnancy.
We talked a lot about the pregnancy here.
But it wasn't the pregnancy announcement. H3 Live was. It's your guys' thing, which I'm happy to talk about. I'm happy for you guys, but to say like, oh, we don't recycle things, it's like, you do, and it's fine, but I don't make it the same title because it's not an announcement. We're talking about your pregnancy.
I wouldn't say recycling. It's a different conversation.
The original one was Trisha's gonna, like, something, it didn't have to be about me, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that it's a pregnancy announcement, again, when it's not a pregnancy announcement, because I'm not pregnant, you know what I mean? We're talking about your guys' pregnancy. It wasn't an announcement. You announced it on H3 Live.
Oh, you thought that people would think it was about you being
pregnant? Of
pregnant?
course it was, because you are, unless you're just recycling the same title you did for H3 Live, which is, it's not, it's just like, I watch H3 Live, I don't want to talk about it on Frenemies. Like, if we're...
They mentioned, again, that Ethan just recycles ideas from his own.
I don't think I can ever, like, if I was, co-hosting a podcast, my thing is like, look, whatever is going to keep the podcast, like, going and talking, like, I don't care what we talk on. Like, I guess if it's, like, something that, if it's, like, the fans are, like, and I mean, like, a lot of fans are, like, bringing it up. It's not just, one person. It's just, like, oh, you guys talked about this on the, like, no, it has to be a lot of fans that's, saying that and things. But, yeah, I don't think I would ever, like, look at my co-host and be like, hey, you talked about your personal life already, so let's talk about something else, but without giving them anything to talk about. Like, that type of stuff just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, okay, you're saying that this idea is boring or you don't like it or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, what do you want to talk about that we can both relate to? Because at the end of the day, that's what this podcast is, right? So it's like, or not relate to or argue it. I don't know. But anyways, because I'm like understanding the concept of the title of the podcast, which is Frenemies. And it's just friends being enemies or some crap. I don't know. But I guess maybe if I watch it and got like an idea. But I just, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, that's just for entertainment purposes. Where it's like, okay, if we talk on something and one has to agree and one has to disagree. Okay, we're doing that for entertainment purposes. I'm not doing it because I'm like taking it to the heart or whatever. It's like, crack a joke about it. Like, smile or be happy about it. I don't care, but it's like, it's stuff like that I'm just like, hey, look, if they don't ever come back, I'm cool with that. So
podcasts, which to be honest maybe has happened sometimes, but some of the topics that they cover, although being repeated a lot of times, like James Charles and David Dobrik and so on, they do need more recognition, and for the most part they continue the discussion rather than just talk about the same thing, and they add more updates to it. And with the pregnancy thing, I think it's fine for Ethan to talk about it again, since it's something he has mentioned on Frenemies before about him and Eli.
It's like, plus on top of that, that's like the one thing that's on his mind and stuff. It's like, well, what do you expect? The man's having a child. Like, that kind of confuses me, because this is, I'm not, my thing is like this. If I'm having a kid, that's going to be the only thing on my mind right now. Like, I'm excited over the fact that I'm about to be a father. So when you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about you having a child, it's like, wait a minute, what? Like, that's why? Like, you would think, like, it just comes off as a person just not being happy. I'm like, look, if you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, like the future with your kid, like, you want to talk about this kid's graduation, let's talk about whatever is surrounding your kid. Let's talk about your kid's whole life if we need to. But I just could not be that person where I'm like, oh no, I don't want to talk about that. You talked about that already on your own podcast, so let's, talk. And I'm like, that's crazy, but anyways.
Like through fertility treatments. Moving on, Ethan said that Trisha looks really angry and upset. Trisha, on the other hand, is like, I'm not upset, I'm not angry, and that Ethan is gaslighting her because he is telling her how to feel. I don't think he was trying to tell Trisha how to feel, more like acknowledge that they were very much upset. Even everyone in the comments was saying that we all know when Trisha is upset about something.
Yeah.
Trish then continued to say it's just frustrating that Ethan thinks his crew and him do all of the work, and it's not even that great in their opinion.
But I feel like you're so angry about this.
I'm literally not, but it's
Yes,
so
you
funny.
are.
I'm not. I'm angry when you say something.
You need to admit when you're angry.
Ethan, I promise you, this is really is gaslighting. I go to a lot of therapy right now, and this really is. When I say I'm not angry, I'm not. I'm like just trying to tell you that you're like, oh, we do everything for the show, and I'm like saying it's not always good. I'm not angry. If I was angry, I would like leave or something, but I'm not. But you telling me I'm angry
or something. You're not
I'm
upset
not.
or angry. Okay. All right.
But it is.
Trisha says that they don't get input on the people that they hire. They, as in H3 Productions. Ethan questions why should Trisha have anything to say about who is hired. Trisha then says that it's frenemies and that Ethan takes the budget to pay the crew. He takes 5% from the episode and also from the highlights to pay the production costs and the crew. So why wouldn't Trisha get input on the crew and what they do?
Yeah.
It's also like not that great. I don't get input on like people we hire, like all this stuff like that. I don't get
People we hire. Why would I ask you about people I hire?
Because it's frenemies and you take the budget for paying the crew. That's what you told me. You take highlights, you take 5% to pay the crew. So why don't I get any input on the crew or what we do?
Then Ethan explains himself pretty clearly, saying that the crew are employees of H3's production company. Trisha questions why is he taking from both the highlights and the episodes to pay them, since the full episodes should be more than enough, to quote Trisha. Ethan continues to explain to Trisha that the deal they have is more reasonable. 5% from the episode plus the highlights go to the production costs, and everything else they split. They continue to talk more about the production costs and recent changes with H3 buying a studio and equipment and so on.
It's like they could be working on other things. So I made that argument too. I'm like, well, they're already H3. Oh, they could be working on other things. So I'm like, okay, in that case.
For production costs. I take 5% extra from the podcast revenue, and I take the highlights revenue, and everything else we split.
Right. So for production costs.
Yeah.
After that, Ethan says that he gives Trisha 50% of the membership revenue, even though all of the work behind that is done by the crew. Then Trisha says that they want transparency in terms of finances and production costs. They talk about sponsors and how because of Trisha, the podcast had Adam and Eve as sponsors for a big chunk of their earlier episodes. And then Trisha continues to imply that Ethan is gaslighting them. Ethan is like, no way, I feel like you are gaslighting me right now. Okay guys, can we agree that people should stop using the word gaslighting so much? After listening to Trisha and Gabby using it all,
it's like as soon as a word goes viral somewhere, then it's like everybody is saying. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've used gaslighting or gaslight. I don't know. I don't think I've used it, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like when one person uses it, oh, everybody, they look up the definition of that word and they're just like, I'm going to use this word because I've been using all these other words time after time. So it's like, it's not going to change. You're still using the same words over and over again. So it's like, use something else. But anyways.
I feel like it's just lost meaning entirely at this point. And then at the end, Trisha says that they need to end the episode. Ethan says Trisha can leave at any point if they want to. He also responds that he can't continue to walk on eggshells all the time around Trish. And then Trish says they really need to leave and walks off set. And yeah, that was it.
Okay. Even what you just said was, you're right, Trisha, everything's fine. That's insane. Like, the fact that you did that to me is like
it's
insane.
It's not insane. We're friends.
That was
We're
so
having
nice.
a friendly conversation. I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells around everything I say.
All right, Ethan, I'm asking to end this. I'm asking
you. can leave anytime, Trisha.
But then you're making this thing where we're not ending the show and you get to sit here and be like, okay, well, that just happened and you're eating pizza and then
I will end the show the minute you walk off the
All right, so
frame.
let's just end it, please. Thank you guys for watching, and I don't want it to be a thing where you're just sitting here eating pizza and you become a meme.
So then I'll say I'm sorry.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't want to get in an argument over
I really
like
need
your
to leave.
Okay, all right, we're done. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Here are some other comments and what people had to say. One user said, "She says she's not upset, but she's literally breathing so hard and speaking so fast. Trisha, we all know you're upset." At the end of the day,
it's like even the way she was like getting ready to walk off, it's all like you got that mad just because he was like, or all right, so she wasn't mad. She wasn't frustrated. She didn't felt no type of anger in her whatsoever. Then it's like, what was that? Because that would, to me, that would be so awkward. I'm like, oh, I don't ever want to do a show with them again. Like, no, that's scary. Like, that is legit scary. Like, I understand, like, if things can trigger a person. Was that the case? You were just triggered? But I don't know. But I guess I can somewhat relate, like, you know, when the person says, like, you know, you're not, or you are angry, and it's like, I'm not really angry, you know, but it's the way that you're acting. Like, okay, if you show that you're calm, cool, and collected, and you're not, like, all quick to, like, you know, leave and do all these other things, but I think that was, like, self-inflicted. Like, you're getting on him over the fact that he's talking on, and it's like, okay, like, if you're just like, oh, you know, I really don't have nothing to say about that and things, and it's like, okay, then it's like, you know, move on and just be like, oh yeah, you know what I mean, because you talked about it, and I just think that she handled that just poorly and stuff. You know, you could very well just say it's like, okay, because this is my thing. If I were to be in a situation like this where I have my own podcast and then I come in and do a podcast with a friend of mine's and I talk about something on my podcast and I feel like it would be a good discussion to talk with like my friend on theirs, and they're all like, oh, you know, you talked about this already. I'm like, but no, what's your opinion? And if they don't have an opinion, I'm like, all right, let's move on. Sorry, so what do you want to talk about? The weather? Yeah, it was crazy today. You know, it's gloomy and all that crap. And it's like, oh, we talked on the weather already? All right, let's talk on some freaking Jordans or something. Are you a sneakerhead? Or, you know, like my thing is, like, I just still would, like, keep it going. But I'm just, you know, and I think even if I was in like in the other person's shoes, where it's like, okay, they have a podcast, and then they come to me, I'm just like, oh, you know, you want my opinion? All right, yeah, sure. It's like, say what I need to say. It's like, I feel like, you know, everything I said is already said on your episode, on your own podcast, so I feel like I didn't really say anything new or anything, and, you know, leave it at that. But yeah, I think it was like, yeah, that was weird.
3. Ethan offered this role to Trisha in the beginning. If she wasn't okay with the deal, then she shouldn't have taken it. Trisha was clearly upset in the beginning by calling the segment boring and lazy.
Yeah.
As a viewer, I am upset Trisha called a fan question segment those things. I can totally understand why Ethan is taken aback at that as well. I feel for Trisha's mental health, but she is clearly triggered because she doesn't fully control the podcast. The comment about recycling titles when it comes to Hila's pregnancy is terrible. Not every frenemies viewer watches H3, so the announcement is exciting and should be shared as much as Ethan and Hila want.
Yeah.
Trisha thinking that viewers would assume the pregnancy announcement was about her is unrealistic due to what she has already said on the podcast before, and all viewers knowing Hila and Ethan have been on the fertility journey. I hope Trisha and Ethan can figure this out. But Trisha,
it's like, plus, I'm pretty sure, like, you know, the majority of the people from this podcast is following you on social media, so it's like, if you post on Instagram saying that you're pregnant, then people will be like, oh, Trisha Paytas is pregnant and stuff. But they're not going to assume, like, and my thing is, I just think that should just be on that person. It's like, when you're watching that, you should know that it's about Ethan and Hila, like, not about Trisha Paytas and stuff. So, it's just, man, that's just so awkward.
Really needs to take ownership for this one. Peace and love. The crew's cut is their livelihood and how they feed their families. Trisha being upset by how much they get paid was infuriating to watch. They work so hard and deserve more. When Ethan said we're friends and I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells around you is the most true thing said on this podcast. Trisha getting therapy is great, but don't use it as a weapon against your friends. Before the episode dropped for everybody to see, people were already coming at Trisha saying how disappointed they were in them since the episode is one day early for paid members. And then before H3 released the episode for everybody, Trisha posted a video titled Stepping Down from Frenemies. Ethan tweeted that he wasn't expecting a video on this. Trisha didn't tell him or anything, and he is really sad that things happened like that, but he said that he tried his best to try to keep Frenemies going. To quickly summarize the 20 minutes of Trisha's videos, here it is. Trisha said that they feel like Frenemies should be 50-50 when it comes to content, ideas, and all of that. They know they sound like an asshole, but still want to stand for themselves. Trisha said that they feel like they should be a bigger part of the production, talking about ideas all the time.
My thing is like, if you feel like that, then you should do that. Like, let him know off camera, like, hey, I want to have like a bigger part on the show, like, you know, add my cut in and things or something, you know. But it's like, don't wait up until the last minute or wait until you're doing some video at your house and being like, oh, I wanted this, this, and this. It's like, they're not gonna know. Like, that's why I always say, when you communicate with people, communicating can get you a long ways. Like, you can know some things when y'all just communicate and talk. When y'all ain't doing that, and then it's just, you know, people are not using their words, but they are using their actions. It's like, yeah, it is, you know, you ain't gonna achieve nothing with that person. So if you're aiming to not achieve anything with that person, then yeah, keep doing the action stuff. But if you want to achieve something with this person, you gotta communicate.
And expressing their frustrations before as well, talking about wanting to step out of Frenemies, feeling bad about the reaction, but not feeling sorry for Ethan. Trisha feels embarrassed, wants to take responsibility about the behavior, but is still hurt. Trisha also pinned a comment under the video saying, I see a lot of your comments and you think I'm making a mistake or being unreasonable. I hear you and I'm not here to combat that. I'm leaving to ease the tension everywhere. I don't want to be the toxicity in their machine, and I can feel that I am, and it's not good for anyone involved. I'm sorry so many of you are disappointed in me or that you only became a fan of me again through the show, but it cannot continue. If this makes me look selfish or a brat, so be it. I am grateful for the opportunity, but it is just not good for me mentally anymore. And it could be my own brain attacking me, but for myself, right now, I just need to disengage completely. This is, without a doubt, the hardest decision I've ever made, and it definitely was the most successful thing I've been a part of, so it's with a super heavy heart that it cannot continue. I'm so sorry from the bottom of my heart. I don't know what else to say or...
You know, it's like, it really did just come... Sorry for pausing, like, midway there. I mean, but you guys can very well, like, go back and watch the original video and see what's being said, but... You know, it just comes off as that, like, Trisha is heading back down. Because it honestly, it seemed like that Trisha was changing, you know, for the better. And it seemed like things was going good. Like, you know, I heard less of her and stuff. Like, I didn't really hear too many, you know, crazy things about her. And now it just came off like with this incident, it just seems like that she's heading back down that path. And I can understand, you know, like, when you're doing so well in life, and you're like, you know, moving forward and you're leaving this like old you behind you and stuff, like you'll be out of the public eye, be doing your thing, you know, overall like entertaining your fans in a different way, but in a way that, you know, they should have been entertained in the beginning. But it's this like cringiness, freaking what else, just this person that you shouldn't have been in the first place. And it's like, I felt like that definitely came out, like, when, you know, watching just that little segment. And I'm like, man, you know, it sucks, but it's like that's like one thing I guess I can understand is like, you definitely went back to your old ways, you know, and being this person where it's like, yeah, it probably is best that she did step down from Frenemies, because yeah, it's like carrying on like that and then like, you know, still trying to be on the show, that ain't gonna be good for nobody. So
how to convey what I'm going through right now without making things worse, and I'm clearly terrible at explaining my emotions and thoughts right now. Again, I'm so sorry to disappoint, and that's all I can say. Like I said, Trisha started getting heat even before the majority of people saw the episode. Most of it was because they expressed their opinion on Gabby Hanna and what Jessie Smiles released. We talked about this in my last video. mainly because the podcast episode was about Gabby and everything she's done in the past month or so, plus previous drama and situations. Trisha said that if they had seen what Jesse posted before filming, they probably would have went even more off on Gabby. And from then, people were like, wait a minute, are you not going to acknowledge the way you treated Ethan in that episode? Overall, I think we can understand where Trisha is coming from. I think they got the wrong impression though. Frenemies is part of H3 Productions, and that was very clear from the beginning. Yeah. It wasn't just Ethan and Trisha starting a podcast, which means that the company is responsible for the crew, set, production, and all of that. Technically, Trisha is an employee of H3 Productions, and they have mentioned that in previous episodes. So maybe Trish was confused, maybe they wanted to take a bigger part in the control of the podcast. However, when Ethan was explaining to Trisha about how much money goes into production and what her cut is and so on, he also mentioned that most of her frustration was always about money. Remember how Trisha went off on Ethan about him thinking only about money? Meanwhile, they were the ones complaining about their cut of the show. Anyway, guys, what do you guys think about all of this? Do you think Ethan was unreasonable? I think it is weird. Was Trisha really rude? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. That was it for today's video. If you liked it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I post new videos every single week. Bye.
Yeah, that was definitely weird. I wouldn't want to do no show with a person like that again, just because it's, you know, it just seems like that. It's like, yeah, you need to take the time to focus on yourself, and, you know, whenever you feel like coming back, come back if you want to. Like, that's up to you at the end of the day. I wouldn't have like no hate or no beef or no problems with that person, but I would just, you know, let them know like, hey, I think it is best if you step down from the show and take yourself a breather. Like, whenever you do want to come back, you very well can, but other than that, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't want to have somebody like that on my show, and it's just, you know, it's you know, it's not gonna be good for anybody at the end of the day. So yeah, I do hope and, you know, pray the best for Trisha Paytas, but yeah, I think it is, you know, good to take a break, because I'm like, I know I've been heavy on taking a break lately, and so I'm like, yeah, it's I understand, but at the same time, it's, so, you know, like being toxic to people, it's like, I think that's, you know, eliminate that, but do take a break from certain things, you know, because I feel like, do you think all of this would have went down if she would have just pulled Ethan aside and just been like, hey, to eliminate any crazy things that happen in the future, or, you know, an episode where things just go south? I'm going to take a break. I feel like I need to take a break. You know, I don't want it to lead into a situation where we're on this podcast, like, arguing with each other. So I'm just going to, you know, step down for a little bit. Because it's like, when you hear in situations where, like, oh, this person's stepping down from this, or they, you know, they're doing their own thing. You don't hear where it's like all that beef and arguing, unless some stuff is like, some dirt has been dug up and some things is happening. But other than that, it's like things just be chilling and stuff. But yeah, it's just, you know, people, they don't do that. So it ends up being the situation where it's like, I think you should have thought that one through. But anyways, yeah, good video. Shout out to Hot Tea for putting this video together. Make sure, if you guys haven't, go subscribe to her. Make sure you also subscribe to her personal channel, Raven Hemi, and her business channel, Build Your Pocket. Like, subscribe to me too, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.